Madhya Pradesh has become the first state to formally introduce an MBBS education in Hindi as a parliamentary panel lays emphasis on other Indian languages, moving away from the primacy of English. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo story. On the program today, we'll be looking at the controversial new set of recommendations made by a parliamentary panel that is led by Home Minister Amit Shah. These recommendations have already been adopted first off the bat by the state of Madhya Pradesh, among them a focus on higher education in Hindi. MP becomes the first state to begin offering certain MBBS programs and courses in Hindi. In fact, textbooks have already been translated to execute this. Now, there will be no forcing of Hindi on the southern states, but at the same time, other Indian languages will be on offer as languages that can be used to teach, languages of instruction. Is this practical? Remember, today we're focusing purely on the space of medicine. India's doctors are among our best known exports to the world. No matter which part of the world you travel to, you'll meet somebody who studied medicine in India. And many of these doctors have spoken about how the fact that they are proficient in English is a key reason for their success, apart from, of course, their prowess and their skill. So, as we look at the BJP's push towards Hindi in the north, towards other Indian languages in the south, we ask, is this democratizing of medicine or is it something that could be disastrous? Let's introduce our guests on the program today. Joining us from Madhya Pradesh today is a BJP leader but also a doctor, Dr. Divya Gupta. Namaskar, ma'am. Good to see you. Also joining us, Dr. Ishwar Gilada, infectious disease expert and specialist. Good to see you, Gilada, sir. Joining us today from England, Dr. Veer Gupta, who works with the NHS in London. Good to see you, Veer. Also joining us from Gorakhpur today is Vijay Shankar Maurya. विजय शंकर मौर्य अपनी प्रिस्क्रिप्शंस हिंदी में रखते हैं. He writes his prescriptions in Hindi. इसको लेके काफी चर्चा हुई. A big amount of debate over this. I'm sure he'll have things to say. And also joining us is DMK leader from Tamil Nadu today, A. Saravanan. Good to see all of you. And let me start by asking you, Dr. Divya, because this has started in Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh is the first state जहां पर textbooks actually translate की गई हैं. ये program शुरू कर दिया गया है. 13 different medical colleges will have the option of having some MBBS programs, parts of the curriculum in Hindi. But to translate these books, wasn't it difficult? Are we ready really to roll this out? Leaving aside for a moment whether it's a good or bad idea.
Well, Barkha, actually, it's not too difficult because I know that all of us nowadays are very used to the English that we are using as a very common way of communicating to each other. Whether we write or we speak, we know that we half of the times we use Hindi words and half of the times we say English words, and that's become our lingua franca. And we are pretty comfortable with it. Of course, we are showing off half of the times that we know English. Most of the times we want people to understand कि हमें कुछ अंग्रेजी भी आती है. I'm sorry, I have a very bad throat. So we want to communicate and yet at the same time want to tell them that we are very okay, we are very up class and we know certain English words, but the modus of communication still remains to be Hindi. So we have become bilingual and we're very happy doing it. So exactly that is the way these books are being translated. The technical terms will remain the way they are. A trachea remains a trachea. A spinal cord remains a spinal cord. A kidney remains a kidney. You can't say Merudand hai, to spinal cord hai. You know, the technical terms will not change, but the way they will be presented will, of course, be in a language which is much more simpler. So, especially the first three subjects, which are introduced as the first three subjects of the first year of medical science, have been translated because it is, after all, a cooling off period. Once you enter through the NEET exam, you go there, then you have the first three subjects which are there with you. They are into that common language that normally a student would understand.
And what is the advantage of this, according to you, Divyaji? What is the advantage?
So, as a medical student, when I remember when we were a part of the first batch that we entered, of the 75 students that we were, say, if I remember correctly, we were about 15 to 20 students who had come from a background who were absolutely unknown of what this language was. And because of us who were from the city, we were the city dwellers, considered ourselves to be the, inverted commas, elite. And
Hmm.
there was always a line of demarcation between them and us. And this line would not fade because of the fact that they would feel very low, they would feel different, they would feel that complex between us and them. And it was our duty to reach out to them and make them feel comfortable, make them understand the language. And sometimes they would feel so thankful, so that they would not be a part of, kind of a delineation from the entire group. And they would be so happy that there was at least somebody reaching out to them, explaining things to them, because it was total Greek or Latin to them when they would come and join the MBBS section. So I
Yeah.
think it's yeah, it's a big challenge for a person who's coming out from villages, and the complex that remains with them is so huge that probably it carries over for a lifetime.
Dr. Gilada, how do you respond to this? One way of looking at it is that if you can take your medical entrance exam in 13 different languages, the NEET is now held in 13 different languages. The more people who come into a profession, the better it is. And Divya ji is talking about how people who come from non-English speaking backgrounds used to feel a sense of inferiority in the classroom, and that should not be the case. But many other doctors are not very welcoming of this primacy being taken away from English. What do you think?
See, it's a good idea to have different languages, but at the same time, they should be made optional. What we have read is that English is being made optional, number one. Number two, yes, 13 languages are there for CET. That doesn't make a qualification for making the entire course in different languages, 13 different languages. Because in the first place, that was wrong to introduce 13 different languages for CET. Anyway, if it has been done, just analyze out of 13 languages, how many percentage of people from different languages scored in good marks and entered in medicine. So if there it may be 80 or 90% only from English and another 10-20% from other 20 languages, I think there we are losing the battle. Thirdly, we are in a global village and we have to compete with the rest of the world. uh, uh, Even as a at SSC, I was 10 marks short of distinction, was a 75%, and my English was only 47 out of 100. But that didn't stop me from learning English, going in medical school, and so much so that today, when I go and speak in international conference, they ask me, "Where did you learn your English?" So Indians, by and large, try to go to different countries and speak their language. And when people come from other countries, we again try to speak their language. So Indians have been doing this thing, and that's the reason that today Indian doctors are best placed all over the world. It is not only here in USA or UK. You take any country in the world, Indian doctors are doing fantastic, and that is because of English. We have seen doctors from French area, German area, Chinese or Cantonese area, or Spanish area. They stop their progress somewhere, and that is one thing. Secondly,
So
textbooks
you
are not
think,
available.
yeah. So
Yeah,
hang on.
textbook,
You're saying
textbook.
practically, 1 minute. You're saying practically this is not possible because the textbooks will not be available. Secondly, you're saying that Indian doctors could be losing their one USP on the global stage. Dr. Gilada, am I summarizing you correctly?
Yeah. And at
Yeah.
the same time, when we are conversing with the patient, we always converse in the local language. We converse in Hindi, we converse in Marathi, we converse in different languages. The moment you start Hindi as a compulsory language, English as optional, all the states will demand let it be in Kannada, let it be in Tamil. That is one thing. Secondly, in All India exam also, 15% seats are for All India. So if you make Hindi compulsory, you are cutting off the South India people, Northeast people. So there are ways and means to do it. You can do it stepwise. You can do health science communication properly in different languages. You can translate all the books, make it ready. When I studied my SSC in Hindi, there was hardly one textbook in the entire class, and that book used to go from here to there. Now also you write anatomy. You don't write Shav Vichadan Shastra. You don't say Yakrat Pliha. You're saying spleen liver. So I think it is ABC Hindi. Like in
Yeah.
WhatsApp, you see English, you write everything in English, but it is Hindi. So I
Yeah.
think we are making little bit mockery of a professional education, which has got a good sanctity all over the world. Just because my university was Marathwada, and people are trying to call it Ambedkar University, wherever we used to go for employment, they used to say, oh, from Marathwada, no employment. So why
Okay.
why we want
Let,
to cut
let,
all
let,
people?
let, let, let me bring in Dr. Divya briefly and then I'll go to Veer. Divya ji, go ahead.
Actually, Ishwar sir, I will naturally, I'm objecting to a lot of your arguments. One is that, let me just tell you, Hindi is an optional subject. It is not mandatory that everybody has to have a language, Hindi, as the learning language. So people who want to have that Hindi book will be given a Hindi textbook.
But isn't there a move towards compulsory Hindi in some parts of the
No,
country?
no, never. It has never been
Okay.
the mandate. It will never be the mandate. But
Okay.
sometimes when there is a child who wants to have an optional language, why should not that child be offered an optional language? Just because when I say, sir, आप तो already उसको face कर चुके हैं, तो मुझे कोई हिंदी लिटरेचर का ज्ञाता नहीं बनाना है. मुझे उसको हिंदी लिटरेचर का उसको मार्क्स नहीं दिलवाने, मुझे उसको एमबीबीएस ही करवाना है. लेकिन बट द पॉइंट इज that he should be comfortable with the language, because it's a cultural shock when a person from this particular place, from a village, comes to a college where they have to be totally into a different culture. The culture changes, the पहरावा बदल जाता है, खाना बदल जाता है, तरीका बात करने का बदल जाता है. So look at that child going through so much of psychological trauma. And of course, when
Okay.
you say that it's a global village, then of course we all know that finally, whether it's a person in China, France, Germany, they all learn into their mother languages. Once they come on the world platform, they will speak a common language sometimes.
Dr. Divya
But
ji, I'm just
also,
reading. I'm just reading from the Indian from one of the newspapers here. The committee has suggested that efforts should be made to use Hindi 100% in the A states. Right, the medium of instructions in IIT, Central University, and Kendra Vidyalaya in the A states should be in Hindi, while the regional language should be used in other states. The committee is learned to have recommended. Now, I think this is the Indian Express. If I'm not wrong, someone can confirm to me. Yes, and according to the rules, yes, it's the Indian Express. Region A includes states of Bihar, Haryana, Himachal, MP, Chhattisgarh. So while it is not called compulsory, there is a move towards 100% Hindi according to newspaper reports. आप कह रही हैं ये गलत है.
गलत है.
Okay, okay. So that's an important clarification. You are maintaining that Hindi is strictly optional.
Yeah,
So I can
it is never
choose.
going to be compulsory.
Okay, so now this is a. So I think the real story is not Hindi imposition then, but कि English की primacy खत्म हो रही है. The
तो
primacy of
हम
English.
अपने आप को, we are very proud of the fact that the elite belongs to
Yes.
the, the English is to the elite. So why will somebody from the masses cannot join the club just because we are supposed to be a different class, a different elite club altogether? Why can't a common man
Okay,
would
can I
want to
open this
join the
up?
club?
Can I open this up? Because I think we have a
Please.
couple of things to frame our conversation now. There is no compulsory imposition of Hindi, not in the South. Hang on, not in the South, not even in the North. But
No
the
way.
primacy of English is ending. Now, Mr. Sarvanan, hang on, Dr. Gilada, you have
No,
one
no, 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 no,
sentence.
no.
What?
Don't put it in such a
ये मैं
melodramatic
बोल
way,
ये मैं
No,
बोल
Barkha.
no,
ये मैं
no, no,
ये मैं बोल रही हूँ ये
Don't
मैं
be so
बोल रही हूँ
melodramatic about it.
ये मैं बोल रही
Divya
हूँ
ji,
ये
Divya
मैं
ji,
बोल
I
रही
just
हूँ
want,
हाँ हाँ गिलाना
as
सर
you know, you have gone through medical education. There are different
Yeah.
batches. When you are teaching them, there are 4 or 5 batches in a class. So if those people who do not understand English properly, you can make a Hindi batch, and there you can say instruction is Hindi. Our teachers have been teaching in Hindi, English, etc. But when you
सर,
try to make it
मेरा
Hindi,
जो टीचर है वो ऑलरेडी हिंदी स्पीकिंग है. मेरा जो टीचर है हिंदी बेल्ट का, वो ऑलरेडी
uh,
हिंदी स्पीकिंग है. वो जब अपनी क्लास में लेक्चर लेगा या लेंगी, तो वो ऑलरेडी उस मिक्स लैंग्वेज के साथ लेक्चर ले सकती हैं. जरूरी नहीं, और हमेशा होता ही आया
So
है
you're saying
एक ही लैंग्वेज.
like we're doing this program, thoda Hindi, thoda
एग्जैक्टली,
English,
एग्जैक्टली,
and
एग्जैक्टली.
but what will happen in states where some people speak Hindi, some people speak Tamil, some people speak
सो अ
Kannada,
पर्सन
some
इन
speak
तमिलनाडु,
yes.
and a person in Tamil Nadu will be given the freedom to learn MBBS, to study MBBS into their language. Why not? As
Okay,
Swami
Mr.
Vivekanand
Sarvanan.
said, as
Yeah.
Swami Vivekanand said that we need to learn 3 languages. One is definitely the language which is our mother tongue. The other is a colloquial language where probably we should be on the world platform. And third is where we feel language which is more comfortable to everybody.
Let
So
me
why
get Mr.
not?
Saravanan. Let me get Mr. Saravanan in. So, couple of important things. We know now that Hindi is not compulsory. We know it's optional in the in the region A states which are in the north. In the south, in states like Tamil Nadu, Mr. Saravanan, you can pick up Tamil. That's what Divya ji is saying. What is therefore the problem with this?
See, the problem comes when there is imposition of a language. When we are
Yeah,
saying imposition of a language, we are saying now let us take this case of Hindi education in medical schools. They have done that with a great fanfare. But is this the same yardstick? Is this the same treatment that is given to other languages? That is our question. If MBBS or engineering is going to be taught in regional languages throughout the country, we
yeah.
welcome that. But is that what that is happening? We are questioning why are you giving so much of importance to Hindi alone? You may say this is spoken by so many people in this country. Then this is called as majoritarianism. We are
Hmm.
getting money, the taxpayers money from everybody who speaks all the regional languages, who speaks only regional languages. But what this union government is doing to promote those regional languages
But Mr.
simultaneously, if
Mr.
yes,
Sarvanan, they would
yes,
argue that they're in
yes,
fact giving the option now of medical education to be in the regional languages also. I personally don't understand how this is possible in one classroom to have a teacher speak so many languages. What
see,
if I'm a
see,
migrant from some
yes,
other part of
yes,
the
yeah,
country
yeah,
living
yeah.
in
See,
Chennai?
that's what.
What if I'm a Hindi speaking person living in Chennai? I don't speak Tamil and I'm a teacher in a medical college. What happens then?
Yeah, see, Barkha, that's why. That is why, see, in a federal setup like us, that is why we wanted English as the link language. We wanted English. We do not want Hindi to be the link language. We will learn only two languages. If necessary, if we go out of Tamil Nadu, if it is necessary for our survival, for our economic growth,
But you
we
already
want,
you want
yeah.
two languages, but the model of education in India is the three language
No,
formula:
we don't.
English,
See,
Hindi, and the
that is
mother tongue.
no, that's what Barkha in the state of Tamil Nadu, we still follow. We only
The
follow
two
the two language
language.
formula. We don't
Right.
follow the three language formula because we know we will see the question again would be what benefit will give us? Will it give us to study Hindi? If you look at the labor migration is happening from Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, other places to Tamil Nadu. Nobody from Tamil Nadu is going there for work. That is the labor migration data. So if at all the union government wants them to be very comfortable for someone from North India to come to live in Chennai or in other states, they should allow them, they should teach them that local regional language. But the union government is not doing that. BJP is a Hindi majoritarian party. The problem for us is the kind of money that is spent for promotion of Hindi that is not spent
Okay.
for any other
Okay,
language. That is our problem.
I think we are actually missing the main point of this conversation by making it a debate around Hindi. This is actually a debate about English, and we are actually missing the point. Veer, I
Yes.
want to bring you in. One second, Divyaji. Veer, and then Vijayji, and then I'll come back to everybody else. Veer, as a doctor who works with the NHS in England, talk a little bit about the value of English. That is something that I think Dr. Gilada has referred to. I think there's no doubt that the parliamentary panel is recommending not just Hindi but also regional languages. But what it's doing is it's making English optional. English is no longer compulsory. So this is a debate not about Hindi but about English. Veer, go ahead.
Look, I think, Barkha, whether we can shy away from this fact, but English is a global language. It is the standardized language that is used all across the world. And medicine is a standardized subject. Things in medicine don't change according to country. Whether they're taught in a different language or not, they remain the same. Hemoglobin values are the same all over the world. Value of iron or copper in the body is the same all over the world. So those values are standardized. Medicine is a standardized subject. We're looking at a globalized world. Do you want your population to be part of this globalized world, or do you want to close it down and have these doctors work only in the state that they're taught in? That's the question that we have to ask. You asked me about the NHS. I work in a London hospital. I work in hospitals in London. I worked in Singapore, where we had Chinese doctors working with Indian doctors. In London, we have doctors from Eastern Europe and South America that are working with Indian doctors. And I can categorically say that Indian doctors have a much better command over the language of medicine that they deal with their patients in this area compared to the people that have studied medicine in a different language. And this is not only in the United Kingdom, but I'm talking about the entire globalized world. I mean, the UK has 133,000 doctors treating a population of 70 million, out of which 59,000 doctors are of Indian origin. And that's a huge number. That's about 48% of the doctors in this country are Indian origin. And about 33,000 doctors in the United States are of Indian origin. And the bigger question that I think we have to ask ourselves is that medicine is taught in a language where research is done all around the world in a particular language, which is mainly English. You look at the New England Journal of Medicine, you look at all the main journals of medicine where research is published, that's all in English. And a lot of Indian doctors contribute to those research journals.
So you believe that if we de-emphasize English, then we will lose our global advantage.
We lose our global advantage. We lose the advantage of Indians that are contributing to research all around the world in this field. And that's a huge point. I mean, we're not going to be having research in Hindi that is published in the New England Journal of Medicine, which it might happen. Of
course, the questions that would arise is what happens to doctors from countries like France, from China, from Germany, where there's a lot of emphasis on their own languages. But of course, India doesn't have one language. And that's the important point to remember. 1 minute, I know a lot of you wanted to come in, but Vijay Shankar ji has been waiting. Dr. Vijay Shankar, आप अपना बताइए, जो हिंदी की अखबार है, हमने उन्हीं में आपकी कहानी पढ़ी, आपकी प्रिस्क्रिप्शंस जो हिंदी में लिखी जाती हैं उनको लेके भी चर्चा हुई. आप इस डिबेट को किस तरह से देखते हैं विजय शंकर जी?
देखिए, पहली बात यह है कि भाषा हमेशा विजेता की होती है. जो विजेता होता है उसकी भाषा होती है जी. और इंग्लैंड हमारे ऊपर राज किया, उसकी भाषा अंग्रेजी थी, इसलिए हम अंग्रेजी भाषा सुन रहे हैं. और द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध के बाद अमेरिका जो है वो सुपर पावर बना, उसकी भाषा अंग्रेजी रही, इसीलिए अंग्रेजी बनी हुई है आज दुनिया में. अगर अमेरिका सुपर पावर नहीं होता तो अंग्रेजी भाषा पता नहीं कहाँ कब की चली गई होती. इसके पहले सुपर पावर स्पेन था, स्पेनिश भाषा थी. अमेरिका की खोज स्पेनिश लोगों ने किया, वहाँ स्पेनिश बोली जाती थी, लेकिन ज़्यादातर लोग इंग्लैंड से गए, फ्रांस से गए, वहाँ से गए, तो उन लोगों ने अपनी भाषा बनाई. और अमेरिका भी अपनी अमेरिकन इंग्लिश बोलता है, ब्रिटिश नहीं मिलता है. वो स्कूल जो होता है SCHAOLL बनता है, कलर को COLOUR नहीं, COLOR लिखता है. तो भाषा हमेशा जो है विजेता की होती. अगर हमें विजेता बनना है, विश्व विजेता बनता है, शक्तिशाली राष्ट्र बनना है, तो हमारी एक भाषा होनी चाहिए. हम उधार के सिंदूर पे सधवा नहीं होंगे. अगर हमको सधवा होना तो अपना सिंदूर चाहिए. दूसरी चीज है
पर हमारी एक भाषा तो है नहीं ना सर. हमारी देश की खासियत ये है कि हमारा हम एक देश है, लेकिन हमारे
आगे बात सुन लीजिए, मेरी बात सुन लीजिए. दूसरी चीज तकनीक. हमारे देश में इतने इंजीनियर पैदा हो रहे हैं, सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर, टेक्निक है, हम हर भाषा में ट्रांसलेट कर सकते हैं बिना परेशानी के. कोई परेशानी नहीं है भाषा का. और जो साउथ इंडियन लोग परेशान हो रहे हैं वो भी कोई परेशानी की बात नहीं. तीसरी चीज, लोकसभा राज्यसभा में बहस होती है, हिंदी में होती है या कोई किसी भाषा में बोलता है, कोई सदस्य टोकता है कि आप इस भाषा में मत बोलिए, वहाँ कोई परेशानी नहीं है. प्रधानमंत्री जी हिंदी में बोलते हैं, गृह मंत्री जी हिंदी में बोलते हैं, किसी सदस्य को परेशानी नहीं होती. यहाँ क्यों परेशानी हो रही है? और हमको विश्व विजेता बनना है. हमारे देश की पहली संस्कृत बौद्ध धर्म जो है यहाँ की पाली भाषा में गया और आज भी वो पाली भाषा में है. हमें अंग्रेजी क्यों चाहिए? अंग्रेजी मेरी गुलामी की भाषा है. हमारी स्वाधीनता हिंदी, हमारी स्वतंत्रता, समानता और उसकी बात. और सबसे बड़ी चीज है, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी से लेकर के हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी हर जगह हिंदी में बोलते हैं. हिंदी में वो सब पूजा.
एक मिनट मैं आई लाइक टू ट्रांसलेट. विजय जी, मैं मिस्टर सर्वनन के लिए and for others who do not follow Hindi in the audience, I 1 minute, Dr. Divya, 1 minute. I'm just translating the gist of what you've said. You've said the language, English is the language of imperialists. I'm summarizing. भाषा हमेशा विजेता की होती है. The language belongs to the victors. We need one language if we want to be world leaders. That language is Hindi. We speak English only because the British colonized us. Mr. Saravanan first and then Dr. Divya. Go ahead, Saravanan.
Yeah, that is simply what, with great respect to the doctor, the neurosurgeon who has appeared here, he is just speaking the tone of majoritarianism. We are a plural country. All our plurality should be embraced. All our identities should not be merged. Homogenization will never integrate this country. You made a wonderful point about whether introduction of these regional languages will do away with English. That is the ploy of the BJP. The BJP wants to do away with English as a linked language. They now suddenly found out that English has got a colonial hangover. It is the language of imperialism, forgetting the fact that it is because of English. It is because we embraced English. India is a superpower now. Can anyone say against it? Can anyone say no?
But what percentage of the country speaks English?
No, that's what.
What percentage of the country speaks English?
That's what, Barkha. Let's leave it at that, because everybody speaks every other language. It's not about percentage. How English has helped India? How English has helped India? That is the point.
मुझे तेलुगु का सम्मान रहता है। मेरा एक सुझाव ये भी है कि सभी उत्तर भारतीय लोग एक दक्षिण भारतीय भाषा सीखें और दक्षिण भारतीय लोग भी उत्तर भारतीय भाषा। मैं खुद तेलुगु भाषा सीखा हूँ, MBBS कर रहा था मैंने तेलुगु भाषा सीखा, मैं MCS कर रहा था मैंने चीनी भाषा सीखा। मुझे किसी भाषा से कोई और नफरत नहीं है, इंग्लिश भाषा है। लेकिन एक चीज और कहेंगे, अंग्रेजी भाषा शराब पिए हुए मल्लाहों की भाषा है, जो शराब पी करके बोले हैं पीयूटी पुट बीयूटी बट। अब
ये क्या? अब अभी तक तो आप
I take pride in the fact, Barkha, I take just a moment, Barkha, I take pride in the fact that I am a Tamil speaking Indian. I take pride in that fact.
मैं रिस्पेक्ट करता हमको
yes, but please don't say that Hindi should be the only language we should speak.
No,
we will not. English should be there. Sir, we will not allow Hindi to be the link language. We will want English to continue. Without English, India could not have progressed this way. This much better.
अंग्रेजी गुलामी की भाषा है।
सुनिए विजय जी, गुलामी की भाषा एक बात बोलनी है, दूसरी बात से दैट इट्स द लैंग्वेज ऑफ द ड्रंक, ये तो फिर भाषा की डिसरिस्पेक्ट हुई। लेट्स नॉट डिसरिस्पेक्ट लैंग्वेज, लेट्स नॉट डिसरिस्पेक्ट ईच अदर, लेट्स नॉट जनरलाइज इन दैट लैंग्वेज. To make an anti-colonial argument is one aspect of this debate, but to generalize and say कि वो जो drunk लोग हैं वो पियो है, शराब पीने वाले लोगों की भाषा है, that I don't agree with. Now, Divya, let's bring you in. This is very emotive.
Exactly the point.
Are you giving up one of your big global advantages, which is that English, even if it's left over to us by the British, right? Even our railway system, in some ways, many things came from the British. We've thrown out the bits we don't like, right? Why do we want to throw out English?
Nobody wants to throw out English, Barkha. Definitely not. So let me just put a little bit, a few things together.
Yes.
Macaulay succeeded in what they were here for. Let's come to that way. If they wanted to make us slaves of the language, we are. We definitely are. And we are not able to think beyond it. Can you imagine we are debating on this particular subject? By itself shows that how dependent are we on just one language. Can you imagine discussing about this in China or in France or in Germany or in Spain or in Japan, wherever?
But ma'am,
nobody would even give a debate or a second thought about it. I duly respect everybody. I duly respect everybody who's sitting here.
Can we come out of this? I just want to make a point to Dr. Divya. Can we come out of these pictures? Yeah, there. Dr. Divya, I want to make a point to you. This debate doesn't happen in Germany, France, and China, because these are countries organized around a single language. We are not that country.
That's exactly my point is. That's exactly my point is, Barkha. But the point is, आज सर्वनानंद जी जिस तरह की भाषा बोल रहे हैं, the way he is speaking, that BJP wants to impose Hindi. No, who wants to impose Hindi on you? On the contrary, let me tell you, we are being told that why are you not learning a third language? You should be reaching out to your fellow countrymen and you should learn a third language, a language which is more common to people where you go, where you travel, and therefore language is the biggest barrier. So, Mr. Saravanan,
yes, sorry.
Yeah, so Mr. Saravanan, when you say, why should I learn Hindi? No, sir, learning Hindi is not bad. मैं अगर आज साउथ की पिक्चरें बहुत enjoy करती हूँ, I love all those movies. Why can't you enjoy Hindi movies? I'm sure you would be doing that. But the point is, why should language become a barrier between two fellow Indians who want to be together? Work together for a common cause.
Let's also come back to the fact that we talk about higher education, highly specialized, highly technical spaces of education. I think we might be losing sight of that. Veer, go ahead.
exactly what I was going to say. That are we talking about the subjects that we're talking about are very technical, medicine, engineering. I mean, these arguments. Can you say these arguments to Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai, who have done their education in India in English, and that's why they're competing on the global stage and making India proud. So these arguments are valid, and we can discuss this all day. And for me, looking at it from the outside, I feel like this is why the English were able to take over the country, because we're fighting amongst ourselves about these things. But the point is, nobody's answered this point. Do you want Indians to be competitive on the global stage or not on these technical subjects? And can they be competitive on the global stage if they've learned the entire subject in Hindi or in Tamil or in Telugu, and then they go and want to compete with the American?
Can I please come here? Can I please come here, Barkha?
Let him just complete his point. Veer, your point.
That's my question to everybody here. If we want to compete on a global stage, we need to know the global language. And unfortunately or fortunately, at the moment, that is English. All the textbooks you see behind me, they're all medicine. They're all in English. I mean, you can make textbooks in Hindi as well. That's not the point. But are we limiting ourselves by doing that? And that is my question to everybody here on the technical.
Okay, before Dr. Divya comes in, Mr. Saravanan, this suggestion from Dr. Vijay Narayan that you learn a language from the south, from the north, he'll learn a language from the south. We should learn as many languages as possible. One, that, but two, I am still not understanding what is this classroom going to look like, where there might be people who speak more than one of these two languages that are on offer in a state. Mr. Saravanan, go ahead. Hang on, we have to unmute you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. See, if to communicate with the world, India is using English. So what is wrong in communicating in English with each other? Instead of trying to learn, if it is going to give benefits to us, I am asking you, what benefit will it give it to me if I study Hindi? Will it put me in an economically better place? Will it give me more opportunities? If I read a third language, which is Unix, a C++, a Linux, or a computer language, it will improve my employability. Will I do that to increase my livelihood, or will I read Hindi just for the sake of communicating with my fellow Indians who I may or may not meet? That's what I'm saying. If I want to go to North India, settle in North India, I will read Hindi out of my own free will. Oh, you may one day come to North India, so please read Hindi. No, I'm not going to do that. That is the point I want to make. And we are not against Hindi. Hindi Prachar Sabhas are flourishing in the state of Tamil Nadu. Oh, so many Hindi movies are running. Kayamat Se Kayamat Talk ran for a year. Then Tezab ran for a year.
These are very old movies.
Yes, because now no movies run for a year, Barkha. That is why I took those examples.
Right.
So it's not against, we are not against any language. Everybody loves Salman Khan. All the Khans we like, all the Kapoors we like. We enjoy all the movies. So when you impose, when you spend more money for that language, when you think that is the only language, when Mr. Amit Shah says that Hindi should become the link language, we oppose it. We will oppose it.
Okay. Now I want to go to Dr. Divya, then Vijay Narayan ji. I don't know where Ishwar Gilada went. Hopefully he'll reconnect. Go ahead, Divya.
So, Barkha, the point here, what we tried to say was that, yes, we want Indians to be on the global platform. Why not? My point is that once you sensitize a person who has learned, who has come to the first year of college, over the time that he's spending in the college, he learns the other language. He definitely gets acclimatized. He knows now that there is a transforming period and the transformation happens, and he can. Now, all of the research papers all over the world are also translated into various languages. Aren't they, Veer sir? Aren't they translated? They are all in different languages. And they're made so only because so that other students from other countries should also learn from these research papers. So why really are we discussing it? One. And two, the question again is not, Barkha, that English is important or not. Question is whether that student who is coming from a background who is not knowing English, can that child who is undergoing the entire trauma, can that child be helped? We are not talking about the international platform. We're not talking about the international papers. We're not talking about the fact that...
Let me get Vijay Shankar ji in, and then Dr. Gilada. We have to start taking last comments. Vijay Shankar ji, आपने कहा कि टेक्नोलॉजी सब कुछ ट्रांसलेट कर देती है, लेकिन आप ये तो स्वीकार करेंगे कि जब हमारे डॉक्टर बाहर जाते हैं देश से, तो क्योंकि हमारे डॉक्टर ज्यादातर अंग्रेजी बोल पाते हैं कंपेयर टू लेट्स से डॉक्टर्स फ्रॉम चाइना या फ्रांस, तो उनको फायदा होता है. तो आपको लगता नहीं कि ये फायदा ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों को मिलना चाहिए, बल्कि हम कहें कि भाई इसको हटा ही दो, ये तो गुलामी की भाषा है? भाषा तो वो है जो आप उसको बनाए। आज एक भारत के हेरिटेज का आदमी यूके का प्रधानमंत्री है। तो ये कलोनियलिज्म की भी एक एक स्टैटिक नहीं रहती ना हिस्ट्री। हिस्ट्री भी बदलती है, रीकास्ट होती है, उसको चैलेंज किया जाता है। इंडिया की इकोनॉमी आज ब्रिटेन की इकोनॉमी से ज्यादा बड़ी है। तो आप क्या बोलेंगे?
हमारी भाषा तो बहुत ज़्यादातर लोगों की हिंदी है, और ज़्यादातर डॉक्टर हमारे इसी देश में रहते हैं। हमने भी पढ़ा है, हम तो विदेश नहीं गए, हम यहाँ देश की सेवा कर रहे हैं जितने। और हमने गांव से शिक्षा ली है। जब इंटरमीडिएट के बाद हम मेडिकल में गए तो अंग्रेजी भाषा की वजह से फिर हमने अंग्रेजी में पढ़ना सीख लिया। और जो लोग भी जहाँ जाएंगे वो भाषा सीख सकते हैं। भाषा सीखना, जब हम एक मतलब एडल्ट पुरुष हो या बड़े आदमी हो जाते हैं, हमको भाषा सीखने में बहुत परेशानी नहीं होती है। जो भी लोग चाइना पढ़ने जाते हैं, जो लोग रूस पढ़ने जाते हैं, दूसरे देश जर्मनी जाते हैं, उनकी भाषाएं पहले पढ़ते हैं 3 महीना पढ़ने, 3 महीना पढ़ने के बाद फिर हो जाता है। हम जब बड़े इतने ब्रेन वाले हो गए हैं तो हमको भाषा सीखने में कोई परेशानी नहीं होगी। मैं आपको वाकई बताऊं, मैं भुवनेश्वर से आंध्र प्रदेश के लिए जा रहा था, रास्ते में एक उड़िया आदमी मिला और उससे मैंने उड़िया की लिपि सीखा, और मैं ट्रेन के रास्ते में उड़िया लिखना सीख लिया
जी।
तो हम अगर चीजें पढ़ सकते हैं, हम भाषा भी पढ़ सकते हैं। और कितने लोग कम्युनिकेट करना पड़ता है विदेश, जितने डॉक्टर पढ़ते हैं सब विदेश ही जाते हैं।
डॉक्टर गिलाडा, अच्छा मैं समझ गई आपकी बात। डॉक्टर गिलाडा, जस्ट लेट मी ब्रिंग यू इन। यू नो द पॉइंट बीइंग मेड बाय डॉक्टर विजय शंकर इज कि कितने लोग बाहर जाते हैं, हाउ मेनी डॉक्टर्स गो अब्रॉड? लेट्स नॉट टॉक टू मच अबाउट देम, मोस्ट डॉक्टर्स स्टे हियर। व्हाट डू यू से डॉक्टर गिलाडा?
See, Barkha ji, understand one thing. They made categorization of the country into 3 groups: A, B, and C. A means those which are completely Hindi speaking, like MP, UP, Rajasthan. Then B level countries which are catchment states like Gujarat or Maharashtra or Himachal, and then C which are not speaking Hindi. So what I am saying, that you make same categorization. You make some education in A category, you make it Hindi, you make some education which is say commerce, arts, science, etc. in Hindi, and then professional languages which are really global languages, which are very difficult to make it translation, whether conferences, workshops, any kind of update. I'm not talking about whether the doctor is going to stay in India or abroad, but understand one thing, that even if doctor is going to stay in India, he or she should understand all the things what is going on abroad. And that's the reason whether the doctors are practicing in India or they are abroad from India, they are like everywhere. And lastly, you look at also money order economy. During Manmohan Singh's time, they were looking at, okay, paisa aata bhi hai aur jata bhi hai. But when they realized that 10 years of one-way traffic of money coming from abroad, that is because of our brain going abroad. We don't want brain drain. We are talking about brain gain. But at the same time, when there is a one language which is international to understand technical issues, I'm not saying only medicine, engineering, or technical courses. They are going to be one language. And you make an effort, maybe 10 or 20 years time, you make category of the country in A, B, C category, and slowly put in. But don't put something in such a way that people start fragmented.
I have to close. Dr. Divya, can you please explain to me what a classroom would look like in a state where you say it's optional, the local language of the state, but what if I'm a migrant from I'm from Bengal, living in Bangalore, right? And therefore, I want more options than English and, let's say, Kannada.
So, Barkha, valid point created by sir was that जब आप बाहर जाते हैं किसी और country में, like suppose Indian students went to Ukraine or they go to Russia for medicine. So for 3 months they are supposed to learn the local language. Why is it so? Why are they not given the option कि आप अंग्रेजी में पढ़ सकते हैं और आप अपनी language में पढ़ सकते हैं? Why is it so that they are told for 3 months you have to learn the local language? Why are the people in different countries more proud of the fact that they have their medicine into their local language and we are still struggling because मुझे आज ये तकलीफ है कि मेरा prescription हिंदी में जाएगा कि अंग्रेजी में जाएगा कि मैं international platform पे बोल पाऊंगी कि नहीं बोल पाऊंगी? What is it all about? It is all about the fact that I should be given the option that I need to learn from my own mother tongue I feel proud, more comfortable when I have my mother tongue with me. But I will definitely learn English. There is nothing that stops me from learning English. So I will definitely learn English, which is a global language. But I feel more comfortable if this subject is given to me in my mother tongue.
I have to jump in, Mr. Saravanan. Literally 30 seconds, and Veer gets the last word. I have to close. Mr. Saravanan, go ahead. Saravanan.
Yeah. See, when you're saying that you're going to teach people in Hindi, then you'll have to build the vocabulary. You'll have to build the infrastructure. You cannot just translate English and
not
prepare
just Hindi. Many languages, many local languages.
Now it's that's what, Barkha. It's like it cannot happen. It cannot happen. That's what the infrastructure has to first build. Then only you can think of making them study in the regional language. Without the infrastructure, now Mr. Amit Shah has done this only keeping the polls in mind, nothing else. This is just a poll gimmickry.
Okay, poll gimmickry. Veer, last word to you. You're not a politician. Yes, let's give you the last word. Yeah, Veer.
I'm not a politician. I'm just saying this. Don't take away the global advantage that we have as Indians, especially Indian doctors that do so well, not only in India, but all over the world. Everyone respects Indian doctors because of their fact that they can communicate in the language that everybody wants to talk in, and the patients are very happy with that. Lymphosarcoma is lymphosarcoma in any language. Neuroblastoma is neuroblastoma. Whether you convert that into whatever language, if you're able to...
Sir, it will not be. Veer, it will not be.
Patient's language. You need to speak to the patient in the patient's language, and that comes with you being able to explain what the disease process is. That's all.
Okay, I think the volatility of this debate shows you that the last word on this subject has not been spoken, but Madhya Pradesh has started this, that it will be a good sort of way to assess how it's working. It's in 13 different government medical colleges. So we'll get Dr. Divya back maybe in a few months from now to see the success or not of that program. Thank you, Dr. Divya, to Dr. Vijai, Shankar, to Dr. Veer, to Dr. Gilada, and to Saravanan. Thank you, everybody, and to our audience. See you tomorrow. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.